It's really high, obviously, which I'm not a huge proponent of having ridiculously high tuition, but I think part of it is that the university wants to give a sense of prestige, and like an easy way to do that is just to like make your tuition higher.
It is high, but I think that if you're going to look at a private school or even a Catholic school, it's going to be relatively high. But I think they do try to offer scholarships to make it feasible for many people.
The school does everything it can to make the facilities nice, to make the living situation nice, but I can't imagine where 5,000 kids paying $18,000 where all that money goes. It doesn't. It seems like we're all paying too much.
For the School of Nursing in particular, you have to pay all these extra fees that are not really marked as to what you're actually paying for. They're just like technology fees.
I think that some of the classes that I'm required to take, like the UCOR classes and things like that, are a little not applicable to the real world.
I think the eating options could be better.
Room and board is ridiculous for what we get.
We have a pretty mediocre football field with less seating than my high school stadium had.
I guess some of the professors are a little iffy that I've had and experienced. I mean, I'm sure they have like real world experience and that's why they've been hired, but I guess that kind of calls into question, like, why am I paying for professors who aren't teaching me anything or are just like being critical of me?
I think I am getting a lot out of it. I think they do well in the School of Education they put us in the field early, which I know a lot of schools don't. And I don't know if that would necessarily be what my tuition is going for, but I think they do well with the education curriculum.
It discourages people from getting an education. It makes you question whether or not you should be getting an education. You are paying it off for the rest of your life. It's just ridiculous.
I think that college tuition is ridiculously expensive. I know that, like, talking to my parents, they both went to college and it was expensive when they went, and they went to Pitt, so it was like, that's kind of how I think about the typical prices. Like, I think of Pitt as like, that's like a typical college price. And I know when they went, it was pretty expensive, but like they were able to, with loans, work through it, and they were lucky enough to get jobs right out of college and they were able to pay it off right away. But they still did have debt, whereas nowadays it's almost expected to go to college. So you're in high school and it's not what are you going to do when you graduate high school, it's where are you going to college, what are you going to major in.
I'm giving the perspective of somebody who's lived in Europe most of his life, and over there a lot of the educational system is subsidized by the government. You get to go to get your college education for free or for very little money.
A nation that has more educated citizens will accomplish more in general. And obviously, like, the United States is highly westernized. We have like a highly educated population, but I think it's something like only 33% of Americans have bachelor's degrees, and then like around like 11 have graduate, and then like 1% have doctoral degrees. And I think to me that's still pretty low considering the entirety of our population. And I think we could have a lot more innovators if there's more people being educated, and cost is certainly inhibitive to a lot of people getting the education that they deserve.
If they helped students more with getting jobs while in school and immediately after school, that would make it easier for students to start paying off their debts and their loans.
I would say just try to increase the amount of scholarships that are given out. I think Duquesne does a pretty good job on that because I don't know a lot of people who pay like full tuition for Duquesne. I think they give out a lot of merit scholarships, but I know some colleges that I applied to when I was in the application process didn't give out merit scholarships, and I like would have went there if they did.
I think we need to go back to pursuing people to do what they really want to do instead of just pushing them into college, pushing them into a major they don't want, and then working a 9-to-5 office job where they're sitting and they're like miserable with their lives. Like, I think people need to go back to doing what they really are passionate about and care about.